Anna Archer, welcome to the Personal Best podcast.
Hi.
How are you doing, first of all?
I'm doing good. I'm excited to be here. There's been so much going on recently,
I know.
but sometimes it's nice to reflect on what's been going on.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm sure everyone listening would have, seen your social media and the recent Gymshark collab and these like run clubs you've done. Like, it feels like so much exciting stuff is happening for you right now, but I'm sure that it's also quite overwhelming at the same time.
Yeah, I think I'm going into this transition where it's not just like online content.
Yeah,
There's also this in real life, and it's managing with myself and brands and expectations and community of like where my energy goes. And I found like the Sunday, I did an event on Sunday and it was my biggest run club ever, and I was knocked out of it yesterday, yet I had so many things to do. And so it's managing that. I don't know, like if I'm doing more in real life stuff, I need to be doing less like other work. But yeah, it's going crazy right now, but overwhelm has definitely come in, especially at the beginning of the month, but getting better.
Yeah. Well, I really want to touch on all of that because I think it's such an important topic, especially at the minute. But first of all, I want to go back in time a little bit.
Let's do it.
Yeah, so I started following your content. It was around lockdown. When I think everything just started to blow up.
Oh my God, that's like right at the beginning.
I know.
I didn't know that.
OG fan. Oh. But for everyone listening, I just wondered if you could explain basically how Anna Archer became Annaarcherfitness.
Yeah. Well, honestly, I've been quite an active kid all my life.
Yeah.
Always loved sports. Was never really that involved in socials in a way of, obviously during school, like being on social media wasn't a thing in terms of being a creator, but I never even watched, let's say, other creators. So I wasn't like a big like, and Zoella was out and all these kind of like creators, like I wasn't really that into it. And so I don't know, I never imagined myself going down there. And then I was just sorry.
It's okay.
I was just in the middle of lockdown, and then my friends were like, start a fitness account. And I was like, okay. And I did. And from that day, it just blew up. And I started it with just wanting to help people. I think naturally I just love to kind of help people, whether that's like in any area of life. And so I just started it. And, I can say almost like truthfully that my message at the beginning wasn't the best message. It was weight loss at the beginning.
Yeah.
But what I was trying to do
Your
underneath it, my intentions were like, I just want to help people.
Yeah.
I just wasn't aware that weight loss wasn't the most healthy thing to promote. And so when I went through that journey myself and figured that out, I then was like, oh my gosh, we are not sharing this on my account. And it's, I don't know, it's so far away from weight loss anymore. It's the complete opposite. And one thing I love is that people don't even know that if they follow now. It's just like, here's my account. I don't know. It's really nice.
But I think it's really nice that your content then transitioned with you. So, you were maybe unlearning these things and you adopted, different ways of training and a different mindset, and your content showed that as well. But I know you were really honest with your followers at one point that you hadn't been in the best mindset and you had been dealing with disordered eating, which sadly is so common for like us girls in particular. And I just wondered if there was like a key moment for you where you realized that maybe the advice you were putting out and the things you were doing weren't that healthy.
Yeah, it was when I started getting really, really low.
Yeah.
And understanding like, oh my gosh, like I'm the one beating myself up about my body and everything. And when I tried to change some of those things, or when I was so aware what I was doing to my body behind the scenes, I wasn't promoting it anymore. I wasn't saying, let's lose weight together, because in the back of my head, I knew what was going on.
Yeah.
Like I had bulimia. So like when I realized, it was like, when I finally understood what was actually going on in my world, that's when I was like, oh my gosh. And I remember at the beginning, I couldn't even find the words to explain it to my community. So I said to them, I'm taking a social media break, and I went offline for like 2 months and no one heard from me.
Yeah.
And I came back and I was like, hi, and everyone was still there. And it was the biggest shock, because I thought that people had followed for my abs and my low calorie recipes, and you know, to go through recovery and then you have everyone still there standing next to you. It's why I think I have the most insane community. Like, they are so there for me that I just want to do anything to help them too.
Yeah, and that's so nice. And I went through a similar stage of disordered eating when I was like 15, 16. But I can't even imagine what it would be like to go through that and come out the other side with an audience almost waiting and like
it was the hardest
watching.
thing.
Like for me, the key moment was I'd been dealing with some sort of behaviors, and like you said, I kind of acknowledged that they weren't really that healthy. And then me and Mom went to Waitrose one evening to get some like chocolates and sweets for like a movie night or something. And we were stood in this aisle in the supermarket, and I just broke down and I just cried, and I was like, Mom, there's something wrong. Like, I'm not okay. And she didn't really know.
Wow.
And no one really knew, but because you end up controlling your food yourself, no one really notices.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did obviously come through the side and like made a full recovery, and it seems like you have as well. And I just wondered, you know, how is your relationship with food and fitness changed?
100%. Firstly, that is so brave. You know, sometimes, especially when you're younger, you don't share any of that. And the fact that you actually were able to show your mum that, and then she could help you, like, that probably saved you quite a few years. Just
I think so. I'm very lucky we have that relationship, but I think it just got to the point where I was like, I don't like this.
Yeah.
I don't want to be this.
That was the exact same. I think it's like giving up, and people have a really negative idea around giving up. But it was like, no, I gave up on the eating disorder. It wanted me to do too many things, and I just couldn't handle it anymore. Wait, repeat to me this.
Like, where are you at now with your relationship with food and fitness?
Honestly, the best I've ever been. And
Yay.
every time every time I think like, oh, okay, this is like what recovered is, it just gets more like, even more of those mindsets or old behaviors like go away. And it's just really great. And when you're not focusing on your body and what you look like and just all of those little things that go on in our brain, you have so much more room to be creative, to do well in work, to have good relationships with people.
Definitely.
Like, I never realized how much space it took in my brain.
Yeah.
And I don't think I'd be where I am at today if I continued the behaviors I used to have. And it's very interesting because the girl who started my account at the time probably would have thought, if you let go of this body, you're going to lose the people. Whereas it's been the complete opposite. Like, because I lost the behaviors, you know, not to put a body on a certain type of anything, like whatever, but the behaviors that I let go of, I think provided me with even bigger community and more opportunities and just more life experiences for myself.
Yeah, massively. And you're so right about that thing of it taking up brain space, because I was exactly the same. Like, I remember, I think it was my mom again, but she said to me at one point, like, you've become a shell of yourself. And that comment like really hurt me, because I was like, what do you mean? But it's only looking back now that I realized that, because I didn't have the energy for anything else, because your brain is consumed with all these really toxic thoughts. And it's so nice that once you let go of that, you realize how much room you have for other things in your life. And I really like how obviously you've changed your relationship with exercise now isn't just about how your body looks.
Oh my gosh, I think I kind of do the opposite.
Yeah.
I train for performance now, and not just performance. I think I like the mindset of, in the present moment, I'm training for the endorphins. I go on the run to feel good. I go to the gym to feel good in the moment. and I'm training for the performance benefits in like 3 to 6 months.
I literally wrote that down.
Oh, really?
You said that, and then it was, and the aesthetic gains might come in like a year's time.
It might come.
Yeah.
But it's like so long term. I think when we focus on what we look like the next day and what we look like in the 2 weeks, that's when we're going into a cycle of quick changes. You know, can we diet before the party or the date or the holiday next week? You know, we get in these toxic cycles of, oh, what if we just lose a little bit in 2 weeks time? Whereas when you take off all pressure to change, like, you shouldn't be able to change your body that quickly, right?
No,
and so I always say, like, for the results in a year, you know what I mean? Stay consistent for the results in the year, and that keeps me in a good space.
How have you like managed to change that mindset though? And do you think you almost had to go through a period of, you know, exercising for how you look in order to arrive at that place where you are now?
I think it's a mixture. I think the people that go down that path have somewhere in their life been taught that they're not good enough, and they've taken it in terms of their body. I think what's got me to the place where I am today is therapy, and I feel very privileged at the fact that I can afford it, because I know a lot of people have the situation where they can't afford therapy, but once you can, it is the biggest investment. It is why I'm as Anna as I am.
Yeah.
Like, I'm getting closer to that real me every single day or every year that goes by. And it's that therapy, you know, my therapist is just incredible, and I go in there and she's just one by one, we're unlearning these mindsets and behaviors all the time. And at the beginning, it was about exercise and food. I don't think I've talked about that in like years. And it's because most of the time, when you think it's actually about your body, it's not. It's about a core wound of not being enough. And so it was really interesting in therapy. Like, as soon as I went in there, my first therapist was like, you don't need eating disorder therapy in terms of a meal plan. You need therapy. Like, you have trauma. And I was like, oh, okay.
This isn't about just the food and
exactly.
exercise.
It's always like something else in the background.
Yeah, I get that. And it is such a powerful tool. And it's something I've mentioned on this podcast before, because it comes back to this idea that you're not your thoughts. And so often we think that what our brain tells us is the whole truth, and that your brain's saying, you look fat today, you look ugly today, you're not good enough, and we take that as gospel. But actually, that's just this annoying little voice in our head. And sometimes if we can like vocalize those thoughts, and that's what therapy is, like, you're speaking out loud, and it allows you to then actually reflect on it and think, why am I feeling this way? And
100%.
Especially when you've got someone on the opposite end who's like asking you the important questions, it makes you realize I shouldn't like hold this opinion.
Yeah.
Of myself.
Sometimes I'll just say something. She goes, why are you saying that about yourself? Or like, and I'm like,
yeah.
Oh, okay. She's like, who gave you that belief? I was like, oh my gosh, I just thought this was normal.
Of course. So I feel like you've been on quite a journey with your fitness in terms of the different types of exercise that you've been doing. And I know more recently that it's been running, and you've massively gotten into that, and you've done this Anna on the Run tour, which is taking different run clubs, like running events up and down the country. How have you then like made that transition into running?
I started running like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Oh wait, was it 2 years? Yeah, it was 2 years.
Yeah.
I've been running for 2 years now, and I just started because my ex-boyfriend could run, and I didn't like that, and I was like, why can't I run? Like, I literally like watched him race like half marathon. I was like, I want to be able to do that. And so I started running with him and decided to train for a marathon in 4 months. And my advice is to not do that as a beginner. Like,
so from beginner to
marathon, like being able to do it, not being an elite marathon runner, obviously, but just kind of like running a marathon. Anyways, the race was so hard. Like, oh my gosh, like I cried. I hit so many walls. I didn't know anything about fueling or electrolytes or anything. And then I took a little break after that. And then the last year and a half, I've just been consistently running. You know, maybe there's been the longest gap of about 3 weeks, but otherwise I've been running, you know, every week or so.
Yeah.
And yeah, I've decided to go back into marathon training. I've got a marathon in 2 weeks, which is crazy. But my run club actually came about in Australia when I was traveling. And you know when you have such a spontaneous thought and you act on it and it turns out to be the best thing in your whole entire life, it shows you that this is what it's about. Acting with your intuition, letting those light bulb moments come in and doing it and not questioning it. Will it be good enough, or what if I fail? And it was one of those moments because I was in Australia and I had loads of people in my DM saying, you know, where can we meet you? Or like, I don't know. And I was like, okay, let me think. I need somewhere where basically there's no venue because I don't know Australia that well to be able to be like, right, I'm going to create an event. I want to be able to do it last minute, lots of space, unlimited amount of people. And I was like, wait, like, let's do something outside. And then I kind of thought about me being on a beach in the middle of Australia and just telling people my location and thought, that's actually really scary if I don't like move around. Just imagine getting swarmed on a beach. So I was like, what if we ran very early in the morning, you know, like 4:30 a.m.
I know people get up so early.
Yeah, Australia, you get up so early. And I was like, what if we do that? And I thought about it the night before. And I told Alex, she works with me, and I was like, I'm thinking of doing this tomorrow. She was like, okay, yeah. And I was like, no, like it's gonna be good. And yeah, did my first run club, and afterwards I was like, oh, that worked. That was really, really good. And basically did like all the way up the East Coast, did run clubs, came back to the UK, and from there, like it has changed like the trajectory of my year. And I don't know, years onwards, it's now one of my biggest part of my brands. It's turning into a brand. We're gonna have products soon. We're gonna, you know, we're going on tours, more tours this year. We had a 2,000 event thing yesterday or Sunday. So it's so crazy that just that one little thought of like, oh, should I hold a run club, when I had never thought about it before, because, you know, run clubs are normally based on location. And so I thought, well, I don't want to do the same one in London every week. And so this is kind of like wherever I am in the world. So yeah, if you've ever got like, I don't know, something that comes into your mind, just go for it.
I love that. No, and I think that's such a good message. And I was reading on one of the posts that you made about the run club. You said you can achieve anything you set your mind to, and the sky's the limit. Believe in yourself, put action towards your goals, and pick yourself up after every setback. And most importantly, have fun.
Yes.
I was like, yeah, I love that, because that's so nice that, you know, it started as a little idea of like, what if I did a run club in Australia? And it's turned into this massive thing, and you had thousands of people at Battersea Park at the weekend. I saw them all like chanting your name.
It was crazy.
And it's so nice though, because you're kind of bringing your community together, and doing something like running is just so, I don't know, it's such a positive thing for people to do, and like get together and just, you know, plod along, have a chat. Like 100%. It's amazing.
And one of my favorite things is the girls and guys that turn up and they've never done a run before. They think they're not a runner. They do it and they're like, how did I just do 5K? And I was like, because you can do so much more than you think.
Yeah.
But we just sometimes are too scared to come out of our comfort zone to show ourselves that we can do it. So we stay in it and we don't do anything. Whereas people come along because they either want to, you know, come and see me or just have fun at an event or meet other people, and they run a 5K and they're just like so shocked. And I'm like, see, go do something else that you think you can't do and prove to yourself you can. And then that's when your self-confidence just goes up.
I know. And like, for me, going to some of these like London run clubs and events, one of the biggest, like most daunting things was actually showing up alone. And I was like, I'm confident that I can, you know, do this workout class or run the 5K, but I'm going by myself. And like, what if I don't meet people? But you do. And I think that's such a nice thing for people to go and like make friends. And I know you always encourage that as well. Like, if you're here by yourself, don't worry. People are so friendly in like the fitness community, and I just think it's so nice to see.
I know. It's also, I have people that have come to my events. They meet people, like they've come alone, and then they go on like holidays together. And I'm like, yeah, they've told me. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is just amazing.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah. And I wanted to ask you about that in terms of like building this community, because for everyone listening, in case they don't already know, you've got like 1.8 mil on TikTok, nearly like 500,000 on Instagram. And I know those are just numbers, but when you look at it as all these people have like chosen to follow you, I guess like, how does that make you feel when you actually reflect on it? Like, do you feel any sort of pressure knowing that you've got that level of influence?
I think I'm aware that obviously a lot of people follow me and young, impressionable, and so I do have boundaries with what I would post, or not how I put myself out there, because I think I'm always being myself. But I am aware of like things not to say or to show on socials. Not like, I don't even think I hide anything, but just on like an adult level. That kind of stuff, like knowing I have responsibility. But otherwise, I think the times where I've struggled the most in socials is when I've tried to think about what other people think, or let myself feel that pressure. When I just do a little dance in my room or something, or just be myself, that's when I get the most out of it, and that's when other people enjoy it the most. And so I've learned a lot, and that being not allowing that pressure to kind of come onto you, because it just negatively affects you.
Yeah, it does. And I can imagine that, you know, it makes you question yourself a little bit of, should I be doing this or should I be doing that? But I feel like just from observing your following, that the community you've built are groups of like really lovely people. And, you know, whether they followed you from the start of going through that recovery journey, or whether they've only recently followed you, like, people just buy into you because you are your authentic self. And I think that's...
Oh, thank you.
It's true, but I think it's so nice to see. I wanted to talk about like your most recent YouTube video and podcast you made, and links in quite nicely, because you said that you were starting this new project, like Project Me, and you mentioned how you'd been dealing with a bit of overwhelm, and as we said at the beginning, with all these exciting things that are happening, like on the one hand, it's so amazing, but it must also get on top of you a bit. I just wondered why, like, you chose to kind of share that with your platform, and how you're actually planning to work on this.
Yeah.
Work on yourself.
The way that it came about was I had vlogged for a few weeks. I sent it over to my editor. I got it back. I watched it, and I don't want to say I was disappointed in myself, but I was like, Anna, you are being so mean to yourself. And not in a way of like, I don't look good enough, or actively saying I'm not doing enough. But I was watching back the footage, and just every single day I expected so much of myself. Every single day I was saying, I need to do work, I need to do this, oh, I've got to do this, this and this. And then 2 hours later I'd vlog and I would say, okay, I haven't done it, I tried my best, but like I haven't done enough, I need to do this. And I just watched it and I was like, you are a stress head. Like, and the reason why I kind of chose for the vlog, like I kind of like, you know, when you put like editing clips in it, I put little clips in between, because I wanted people to know that this footage is from a few weeks ago. I don't believe everything I say. Because I could have put that out, not said anything, and I basically didn't want people to kind of think, oh my God, like Anna's really, really tough on herself and she doesn't even know it. I kind of wanted to be like, I'm being really tough on myself and I don't like it. Like, I do not approve this behavior. And I could have not posted it. That would have been like the easier option. But I kind of thought, how many other people are potentially saying things like this, or going through situations, or, you know, they're watching a vlog and they're like, oh gosh, I do that, and not be aware? And how interesting would it be if they kind of watched it, and then there's also like second Hannah that comes in like, don't say that, like you don't need to say that. And so that's kind of, it really clicked something in my brain when I watched the footage. I was like, why have I taken my passion project and made it a thing that I don't want to do or don't love? Like, and I'm talking about making videos, podcasts, and all these things. It was a mindset I got into. You know, it's very easy when...
It's just like another thing on your to-do list.
Yeah, another thing. It was like, oh, I need to record a podcast. I have to do work. I started saying making videos as, oh, I need to go work. And in my head, no, making videos is fun. It's creative time.
Fun.
Yeah. And just the way that I was wording things, the ways that I was always saying I had to do more, just by watching that footage, I have already kind of changed a lot of things. And yeah, I think sometimes we just really need to like reflect. And I can imagine it's harder, like, how would you do it essentially if you don't vlog? But I'm sure there's so many other ways, and just noticing what you say. But it was really powerful.
Definitely. And it takes a certain amount of self-awareness, I guess, to acknowledge that behavior and understand when, you know, you're setting, like, you're being productive and you do need to get certain things done, and when actually you're just driving yourself into the ground and you're not giving yourself any time for relaxation or doing things that you actually enjoy. And something that's kind of reframed it for me is this idea of treat yourself like someone you are responsible for helping.
I like that.
Yeah, because it's the idea that we look after others all the time, but we fail to actually take care of ourselves. And like, you just need to acknowledge that life is difficult and that we should treat ourselves with like a certain level of care and like the respect that we deserve. Like, we're not these robotic, you know, creatures that can just go like 100 miles an hour all of the time. And actually, if you do try and do that, you'll probably just end up burnt out and you won't achieve as much anyway.
No, 100%. I've seen way too many of my social media friends burn themselves into the ground. And the scariest part is that no one can see it online.
Yeah.
I can even be convinced that some of my social media friends are always happy. I meet them and they're like, no, I'm like awful. Yeah. I never think I've posted enough. I haven't done this, I haven't done that. And I'm like, oh my God, like, I'm the one telling them to be like, you know, rest up and do these things. And I think I am always one for, once I've acknowledged something in myself, I just want to get to the bottom of it. And I was talking to a friend the other day because they were like, if something like that was happening to me, I'd just try to ignore it. And I was like, no,
like push it back.
Yeah. I do not want to suppress things anymore. If I get like faced with a problem or a situation or a trigger, I'm like, right, let's work through this so we can move, like, so we can actually let go, not just push down, but get it out your body and not have those beliefs anymore. Or I don't know, like,
that's really interesting.
That's why I like, that's why I am reflective, or as you said, like self-aware. It's because I'm like, okay, cool. You've acknowledged the situation. Now what do we do? What do we need to like say to yourself or to actually get rid of it?
I think it would be, quite hard for people to kind of arrive at that place because, a lot of people will just suppress things or just ignore it and just think, oh, I'd like deal with that later. But actually sometimes getting to the root of the problem is really important. Do you think that comes from having therapy?
Yeah, definitely. And it takes so much practice. Yeah. You know, I'm still working on it every single day. There'll be something that comes up and I'm like, oh, okay, it's one of these situations. You've worked past the point of tiredness. You didn't listen to yourself and now you're scrolling on your phone for an hour. I've caught you again. Do you know what I mean? Like, I've noticed it again and I'll notice it for like a month straight and then there'll be a little switch. And then there'll be less of it, and then a little switch, and it just keeps going like that. And we will all understand or notice things in ourselves when we are ready to. You know, I wouldn't put pressure on anyone or say, oh, you're not noticing things quick enough or whatever, because we're all doing our absolute best, whether that's in, you know, sport or self-awareness or relationships with people or how we communicate. We are all doing our best with what we've learned growing up or the situation you're in. So it will come, but you have to put a little bit of effort in.
I think that's absolutely right. And, you know, doing things like journaling or taking yourself on like long walks or just sitting with your thoughts for a certain amount of time can help you do that. It's like, I've really noticed in myself that when I'm like on my phone and I'm hopping between apps, whether it's like Instagram, Snapchat, like dating apps, whatever, and I'm in this like perpetual loop, it's because I'm not feeling very good about myself and I'm looking for that like dopamine hit that's going to make me feel good again. And it's something I've really noticed now. And when I feel that, I'm like, I just put my phone down and I try and, you know, think about the bigger picture and do something to distract myself. But like you said, I probably wouldn't have acknowledged that behavior a while back. It's only now that I've realised it.
No, but that's fine. And also understanding when you are in that kind of going around the apps, and I'm sure a lot of people listening are like, yes, I know when I'm on TikTok or Instagram and you're kind of in a bit of a rut, you're aware that you're scrolling, but you actually physically can't get off it. You like, you know, when you think about it, you're like, why am I on my phone?
No, it's so
and you continue going. That situation, you are unregulated. So there's a part of your body that has been triggered or doesn't feel good enough and is looking for something. The way that you get out of it is by regulating yourself again. So that is a shower, a bath, movement, dancing, like music, things that make you feel like you again. And sometimes if I'm super triggered and whatever, it takes a bath and food and a hot drink and Netflix and journaling and all of those things to then feel somewhat better, to then have an 8-hour sleep and then wake up feeling good. So there's a lot of, you got to really turn up for yourself.
It's so true, but that's exactly what this idea of treating yourself like someone you're trying to help, because if I was looking after someone, I would suggest that they do all of those things. If they're feeling a bit rough, I'd be like, you know what, you know, take yourself on a walk, have a bath, get a good night's sleep, and we'll like tackle this tomorrow. And something I spoke about with a previous guest, we were talking a lot about mindset and feeling happy, and he used the analogy of like, you've got to go into your mental toolbox and like pick out the things that you know are going to make you feel better. And it doesn't always work. You know, it's not a quick fix. Like sometimes you can do all of that and you might just still be having a low week or whatever, but there's definitely things that you can do to help. But in terms of that, what are the active things you're trying to do now in order to avoid that overwhelm, avoid that burnout, and like still, you know, do the things you want to do?
Yeah. Recently I've got a lot more into my organization and my lists. Really get into my Google tasks. And just kind of like mapping things out and being organized, because it's when I'm not and I feel like I have so much going on, but I don't have that clarity. When I don't have the clarity of what needs to get done, I'm super overwhelmed.
You've just got these tabs in your like so many open tabs.
Yeah. And so to be able to have different lists of like things that come into your brain or people you need to reply to or other things like that, for one, calms me down a lot. Having boundaries, you know, depending on where you're at or what you're doing. Obviously, I can only talk in my kind of field of work and stuff. But for me, knowing how to say no if it comes to brands wanting things or events and they go, can you do this on this day? And I go, actually, looking at my schedule, I need that day off. And they say again, no, can we have it? It's going, no, I'm really sorry, like I can't do that day. And having those types of boundaries, because if you always say yes to everything, oh my God, you're going to come to that week and you're not going to realize how many things you have going on. And I'm talking from personal experience of literally February where I said yes. I had so many things coming up. I came to it and I generally felt just so exhausted. And there is such a power in preventing the overwhelm, because once you hit overwhelm, I, for one, can't do anything. Yesterday, I had one of those days. I tried to get out of bed like 6 times. I got out of bed, went downstairs, went back in bed, had breakfast, went back to sleep, got up from my nap, and I just, because there was so many things that needed to be done, but no clarity, I just couldn't get up. And it just doesn't make sense. I was also so tired from the day before. And because I wasn't giving myself enough compassion at the fact that I did that, I was just like, no, what's next? What do I need to get done?
True.
And then I was getting messages from all my friends and family like, hope you're resting today. That was a massive day yesterday. And I was like, okay, so everyone else is like saying rest up. And I'm out here like, no, but I have to get these things done. And the only person that can calm that voice in your head is yourself, because evidence shows you could have everyone around you saying, it's okay, it's fine. But if you're not going, yes, it's okay, then it's not going to feel like that.
Yeah, definitely. Someone actually said to me recently, they said, learn to slow down so you don't have to stop. And that's really stuck with me. Because like you said, when you hit that point of overwhelm, it's like, I can't do anything. So like you say, with the future planning is really important. And I often find that we tend to book so much in for our future selves because we think, oh, I'll do this, this and this like that week. And then you get to that week and you're like, this is too much. And people, you know, deal with that in so many different ways. Like I've got friends who are midwives and mental health nurses and doctors, and like when I hear about what they deal with day in day out in a week, I'm like, I don't know how you do it. And so it's so important that you actually treat yourself as an individual and really structure a life and a routine that's going to work for you and that's going to help you. And like my friend like did a night shift, and then she was like beating herself up that she didn't go to the gym the next day. I was like,
oh my gosh.
like, you know, like you say, have
Yeah.
some compassion with yourself. We're so harsh on ourselves all of the time.
Yeah.
And we just need to cut ourselves a bit of slack, I think.
100%.
Definitely. So as we've said already, like you're doing so much at the minute, and I'm sure you've got lots of exciting things in the pipeline. But what are some of the like future goals that you're working towards, big or small?
So I kind of only work like a year at a time.
Yeah.
Like I have a vision of where I'm going to be in like 5 or 10 years. Like, you know, when you think of yourself like as a proper adult, like I know I'm 22, but I'm not a proper adult.
I know.
So I have a vision. It's not vague. It's just, I don't have, I need to do this, I need to do that. It's just the idea.
Yeah.
But in terms of like the next year, I just want to take Anna on the Run to the next level. Like we're going to go global.
Global
We got
tour.
we got some tours coming up. I'm not sure how much I can share, but one thing that I will kind of be going into is like creating my own brand, having my own products, which I think is just super exciting. And it's one of those things that I've put off for years. But I think this is the year to kind of like go into it. But I think aside from, you know, I could list a load more things I want to achieve in terms of like career and stuff.
Yeah.
But for me, what's important going forward and this year is, in a world where we're praised for doing so much, I want to do less. Like I want to do less and be happy rather than do more and be stressed.
Yeah.
And so I'm really looking forward to actually slowing down while still reaping the rewards. I think sometimes we're so afraid that if we do slightly less, everything good around us will stop. We won't achieve as much. And recently I've noticed the power in like doing slightly less, telling yourself it's okay, and then getting so much back. And you're like, wait, is this what happens when you actually like appreciate yourself and understand like your boundaries? And so that's kind of where I'm going forward, and just continuously making decisions that are in line with my intuition. There's been a lot of times where I know how it will make me feel, like a decision, and then I listen to someone else, I change my mind, the time comes and I'm so annoyed at that person for changing my mind, whereas really I was the one who wasn't actually sticking to what I had felt. And so going forward this year, you know, when you get that initial kind of like, no, I don't want to do that, or don't fancy that, sticking with that and then realizing like good things come from that.
And I think that's really important. Like I imagine for you, you know, working with these different brands and planning different things, that you've got people pulling you in different directions. Like you're like a puppet on a string almost. And like you don't want people to be in control of that. So actually taking some of the like power into your own hands and being the person to make the decisions is going to be really important.
It's honestly one of the most, okay, maybe life-changing is a bit too much, but like I was practicing it. I had some situations recently where I had to learn some more boundaries. And I think the reason why we don't put a boundary in is because we have a fear that the other person won't like us as much or whatever. And it was with a brand, and I held up a boundary and I said, no, I can't do this. And they were not very happy with it. They kind of pushed again. And when I finally held up and was like, no, they were absolutely fine. In fact, they were like, oh, okay, like, sorry. Do you know what I mean? And if I had let them kind of win that over, even though I knew what I truly needed or wanted, I would have never understood that at the end of holding your boundary is a very positive thing. I don't know. And
that's good advice though.
Yeah.
Because I've been thinking about that recently, is like there's a difference between being selfish and setting boundaries. And actually one of was through meeting one of my friends who is so headstrong and independent, and you know, if, I don't know, we're doing something, she's like, oh, I've got to leave at this time because I've got to do this. You know, she's always so confident in that, and I really learnt that from her. And I think that's also good advice, that yeah, there can be a good outcome at the end of that. Like, there is power in saying no,
100%.
listening to your gut.
And the thing is, how long have we been told, you know, it's good to say no? I've only just understood what that actually means. It is so much easier to be like, yeah, it's okay to say no. And it's like, no. Like, when you get asked to do something, tune in with yourself. What is your first answer? And then hype yourself up to be able to communicate with that person that is not what you want to do. Try not to say sorry, because when we apologize, it's making out that something's wrong. But send a nice message and just be like, you know, I can't do this. And it is so empowering when you learn to be like,
it really is.
I can't do that.
Like, for me, this year is all about, like, you know, being bold and making things happen, because even with this podcast, it's, I guess, the first time that I've had control over something. You know, going from school to jobs where I've got managers who are constantly telling me what to do.
This is yours.
This is mine. But again, it's hard, because I just want to say yes to everything and take on as much as I can. And whilst that is important, there's also an element of, staying true to yourself and not taking too much on board and learning to say no, as we've said. So the final question I want to ask you, which I ask everybody, is if you had to give someone a piece of advice, or you share a quote or a mantra to help people achieve their personal best, what would it be?
Now, I do literally have it on my hoodie right now because it is my favorite quote. But it is, life is a game, go play. And it just leaves so much room for kind of taking that pressure away from what life is about. You know, oh, you need to achieve this, or you need to go do this, or because you're not good enough, or all of these things. And it's like, the way it kind of came, like the way that this quote kind of came to me was when my mum was like, why do you want to earn more money? Like, you don't want more things? Like she was kind of scared that her daughter was gonna become this kind of like
money driven.
Yes, like money driven, like designer everything. And I was like, because life's a game, it's fun. Like, it's fun. It's fun to go do things out of your comfort zone, to meet new people, to have relationships with people, to be vulnerable, to, I don't know, just enjoy life, to go do like a little plot twist, and do you know what I mean? Like, and go just explore different avenues, to go fail, just have this kind of relaxed idea around life, really.
Yeah. No, I think that's so nice. And like you said, like, it feeds into so many different aspects, because especially in this world of, like, I don't know, social media, where there's a lot of messaging around hustle culture and grinding, you kind of forget that actually life is just for having fun. And it's like you said earlier with the, you know, you can achieve goals and don't hold yourself back, but also have fun. And we forget that so much. And,
you know, when I hold like events and stuff, and I've got, you know, girls in my community coming up to me, they're like, oh, like, I'm scared to start like a social media account, or I'm scared to do this at school, or I'm worried about what other people think of me. And I'm like, life is a game. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, go play, go do whatever you want to do. Just not caring what other people think. And I think also, I think I may have mentioned this earlier, but when you do things outside of your comfort zone, you teach yourself that everything's going to be okay, and that you can actually do it. And then it increases your self-confidence. And this can be in work, you know, trying something new. Oh my God, that was really uncomfortable, but it worked out really well. Oh my gosh, so I can do that. And then the other side, let's say marathon training. Oh my gosh, I don't know if I can do it. You do the whole marathon training, you run the marathon, you go, oh my gosh, I can do more than I think I can do. And it's why I constantly look for challenges and want to do things that I haven't done before. Because when you do that, you grow, you level up to that new level. And then another opportunity comes, and it's even bigger and even more. And you're like, I don't know. But
it's stepping outside your comfort zone that's a scary thing. But I mean, you're living proof that you will get so much reward from doing that. And I watched this documentary the other day with this guy who did a Ironman in Antarctica. So yeah, it was crazy. But his whole messaging throughout was that limitations are perceptions. And it's this idea that, like, you know, you don't know what your limits are. We've just like made them up because we're scared to try new things. But actually, so much wonderful stuff can happen when you step outside your comfort zone.
I love that.
Yeah, it's a good documentary.
Might watch it.
I was like, I could do anything. So amazing. Just to finish up, where can people go if they want to find you or check out what you're doing?
Well, all my socials are under Annaarcherfitness. I'm on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and I have my own podcast called Inside Anna's Mind. But yeah, that's me. Thank you so much, by the way, for having me on.
No, thank you.
Yeah, I love it.
I mentioned at the beginning that obviously, like, I've followed you for a while, but I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like there's been so many eras of Anna.
Oh my gosh, so many.
Like, so many.
So many.
And I really feel like you're in your best era yet. And I think that does come from you being your most authentic self.
Thank you.
And that just shines through in your content. And I think even though you have, you know, gone on all these different journeys, like, people have stuck by you because, you know, they buy into you. And so, yeah.
Oh, it means a lot.
Thanks for being you, and thanks so much for this conversation.
Oh, so much love.
Thank you, everybody, for listening.